Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back to a Fresh Stories book chat, which, if you listen to the podcast, which you better listen to the podcast, you know that this is my favorite segment we do because I was that kid that grew up reading books all the time. And if I could tell myself at 5 years old that I was going to talk to authors all day, boy, I don't think I would have believed that. So, speaking of authors, we have a friend of the podcast, a friend of the community, a friend of us, and she's been a champion of what we're doing. We've been a huge fan of hers for I think probably close to 5 years now. It's been a long time.
Same.
And she has a book, yeah, coming out. So I forced her to book it some time on the calendar here, and so I want to talk about it. It's a very important book, and her journey getting to this book into the world has been quite
Ooh,
an interesting tale as well. So I'm going to let her introduce herself, and then I'm going to ask her tons of questions. So who are you?
Olivia, I'm so happy to be here. Thanks so much for having me. My name is Alex Alexander, and I have a book coming out titled Are We Friends Yet? How to Deepen Your Relationships and Create the Community You Need, which I just had to remember that tagline. I
I
should
do the
probably
same thing, by the
memorize
way.
that. Uh, but yeah, I have a book coming out about friendship and community and building your support system, which is so on brand for the Fresh Starts community. I know how many people are, we have a fresh start. Often you are at least adding some people to your community, maybe letting some things go. Maybe you have some new needs.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'm aligned with what's going on here.
You are very aligned. Can you hold the book up? I want to see the book again one more time. I haven't seen it yet. So this is very exciting. Oh, beautiful. It's beautiful. I love that. Yes, and I think that, like, the title is perfect, right? Are we friends yet? Are we friends? I mean, I feel like in any category of human that you encounter, right, you're like, "Are we friends yet?" So I love that.
When that book title came across, I am notoriously bad at titling anything, like a digital product, the podcast, anything. I really struggle and I always ask for help. And I had a book team help me with this book, and I had a different title. And I told them, I was like, it's really bad. So if you have ideas, and the Are We Friends Yet came across my email, and immediately they had, I think, 10 options. I was like, no, that's it. And they go, we
I love it.
figured. It's a question that everybody asks. It's so
Yeah.
universal.
So, Alex, why this book? Why put this book into the world?
Oh, well, I wrote this book by accident. I did not mean to write this book. Back in, you were talking about how we've been following each other for 5+ years now.
Uh-huh.
Back in 2020, I was making a career pivot. I actually had a food blog called The Eternal Hostess where I was telling people, I was like the anti Martha Stewart. Like, how do we just get people together? It doesn't need to be anything fancy. And I used to be a wedding planner, so I used some of my knowledge there. And at the time, what I actually really wanted to talk about was friendship, but who am I to talk about that? How do I talk about that? All these things. And I had a friend who said to me, you keep saying you don't think you have much to say about friendship, but I know you do. I listen to you talk about it all the time. She's like, so why don't you just write, like, can you write 40 pages? Write like a 40-page ebook. Just see
Mm,
if you can talk about it that much. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to do it. Except it was not 40 pages. By the time I was done, I think it was like 225 pages.
it's close. Yeah.
And then I was like, "Oh,
Whoops.
this is a book. This is a book, like a book
Yeah.
book. What do I do with this?" But I'm really grateful I wrote it because there's two frameworks in it that really are the heart of all my work. Like I talk about them in my podcast, they're on my blog, and I really needed the time to flush all that out. And then there's all sorts
Mhm.
of other stuff in the book too.
Amazing. So, who would you say this book is for?
Oh, I'm every marketer's worst nightmare.
Everyone?
Be-
You're gonna say everyone?
well, yes and no.
Mm.
So anybody can use this book,
Mhm.
but I do think it's for somebody who, I don't know, feels like a sense of possibility, quite frankly. And that possibility might come from being at rock bottom. Like
Right.
my story is that I basically was at rock bottom. I felt like I had absolutely nobody to turn to. And when you're desperate, you do things outside the norm. And I accidentally built myself a family out of friends. I have a very, very, very broad, very amazing support system that I never like could have imagined. And so I wrote this book for anybody who wants to even just add one friend, or maybe they need someone who they feel like they can call to pick their kids up from school, or they want to be more tapped into a community. They have a couple friends, or maybe all their friends live on the other side of the country and they're like, I have friends, but why do I feel so lonely every day? And it's like, well, because you're actually missing present friends, which is one of the types of friends in my book. So when you read this book, my hope for anybody is that whatever your limiting beliefs are about expanding your community, you get to the end and you're like, wow, there are so many ways I could change my current support system situation.
Huh.
And you see what those ways are and you have an idea for where to put your energy because it's limited. I know we don't all have unlimited energy. This is not a book where I'm just like, everybody needs two best friends. It's
Right.
going to be different for everybody. And I walk you through how to figure out where is the most vital place that you can put your energy to expand your support system, whether that's friends or community or family. It's all in there.
I love that. One of the things you talk about that I really had never seen other people talk about, and I love that you are passionate about this, is how people can show up for their friends with kids.
Oh, yeah.
Because there's a lot of and it actually, like, gives me chills to talk about it, because there's a lot of misconceptions about this, I think,
Hmm.
and I feel like what the work you're doing is actually, like, taking us back to a time that we really did have a village and what that looks like, right? And so I would love and you're so great about sharing your experiences, right?
Hmm.
Like we're taking the baby out. I remember you very distinctly. I remember you had friends that were going through a surgery or a very hard a sickness, and you went and took care of the dog and the baby and all
Yep.
of that. Can you
Yep.
tell us a little bit about like just because obviously like that stuff's in the book. Like why is that such a passion of yours to talk about?
Well, so as I said before, I grew up as a kid really feeling like I had no one. And what I learned as a kid is that you don't need, like, I think a lot of people are looking for one person they can add into their life who really just completely changes everything. Like, they are the end all be all, can do all things for you, all or nothing, show up for you person. And that's not what I experienced. What I experienced was like one person was the person who took me to find my prom dress. One
Oh,
person was the person I would call when I just needed to get out of the house because I just didn't feel like I could be there anymore. One person was the person who was like the person who made me have fun. When life just felt so heavy
right.
and everything was on my shoulders, life was fun. And so I talk about this in the book, kind of like building your foundational team. You're not necessarily looking for one person, you're looking for somebody who can do something that is actually really impactful in your life. And so the story you were talking about earlier, I had a friend who has a medically complex kiddo. And when he was born, he was in the NICU for 9 months. Now, her parents were luckily retired and able to drop everything and go live with them for a period of time. But 9 months is a long time. And so at certain points, I messaged her and her parents, and I was just like, hey, when you need a break, I have the flexibility. Like, I can just come work from your house. I can walk the dog. I can cook dinner because I would do that at my house anyways. And that's what I did. They needed a break about 4 months in, and I went down there and lived in their house for 2 weeks. And when that happened, I got a bunch of messages from people being like, "Wow, I could never imagine doing that." It's like, this is my unique situation that I'm flexible enough to do that, but everybody has their version of that. You know, you were talking about kids
Right.
earlier. I'm a child free at the moment person, but I have 20 plus kiddos that call me auntie. And I'm like the school pickup person for some kiddos. I'm the one that like goes down. I mean, I just had a friend message me, and her husband is going to be in like an all weekend intensive MBA class thing. She's like, "You want to come co-parent with me?" I'm like, "Girl, yeah, I do. I totally want to come hang out by the pool with you all weekend and be
Yeah.
a second adult with you." I mean, I have endless. Sometimes it's like just cooking a meal for friends. I love to cook. Not everyone loves to do that. So if you don't love to do it, don't do it. I have a whole section in my book that I actually call the do less list.
Mm, mhm.
And it's this idea that society kind of tells us that to be a friend, we have to show up in all these ways. Like you, Olivia, you have very limited time
Mhm.
and capacity. I know that you are a single parent. I was raised by a single parent. You have very little. So like an example that may work for you, because I know you can't pack it up and go live in someone's
Right.
house for 2 weeks. And you look at that and you're like, oh, right. Society would tell you, like, I should figure out a way to do that. I should figure out where to put my kids. No, I'm here to tell you, absolutely not. That
Right.
does not work for you. But an example that might work for you is a friend of mine has 2 kiddos. And something she often offers to people is, hey, when you're a new parent, I will take you off do not disturb in the middle of the night. And if you have like panic
Yeah.
questions about feeding
Yep.
or do I call the nurse? Is this a problem? I'll wake up and
Yeah.
answer. And I can do that from home. And it only happens a few times. So it's not like it's necessarily an every night thing. And that's what she offers. And that's beautiful and perfect for her situation.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. I'm actually, like, tearing up because I just think it's first of all, as a single parent, having more people love your kid and know your kid and be somebody that your kid can trust is everything. Like,
Mm-hmm.
and for anybody listening, like, I don't think you realize, like, the impact that you're making on the single parents because it's huge. And I love that, and, I agree, I don't have the I don't leave my house very much. I don't
Yeah.
really want to be honest. I like my house. However, I am the best long distance friend.
Yes.
And what I will do, right, is I do the do not disturb thing, but for divorce, right? So just the
Yep.
other night, 10 o'clock at night, I had a friend text me and go, my ex just told me he wants to tell our kids now that we're getting divorced. And I said, nope, here's your script. This is what you use. I had a friend who doesn't live anywhere near me call me, this was a couple summers ago, sobbing out of control because she was, in a domestic violence situation, and
Mm-hmm.
so she had she had one local friend there, and I got on the phone with her friend who I'd never met before, and I said,
Yes.
"You need to call XYZ," right? And that was the team we built, and I was so happy, Alex. I felt so thrilled to, like, go like, captain this ship right from my desk and be like, "We're gonna get all this shit done for you, and we're gonna get all the experts," and that's like, why we built Fresh Starts, right? And so, I just I love that you're so, aware of the nuances of people's lives, and, like, I always tell people one of the things that got me through my divorce was my cousin, who doesn't live near us,
Mm-hmm.
would FaceTime my kids and do
Yep.
craft projects with them so I could go call the lawyer.
Perfect.
Right?
Yes.
And, like, I have a friend who again, an online friend who were besties, and her she would we would try to work from home and during the pandemic, and it was like we were both losing our minds. She would have her daughter call my kids and play video games together,
Yep.
right? And it's, like, little things like that.
Mm-hmm.
I really truly feel like this book is going to make people remember, like, this is the village, and it can show up in any capacity, right? And I love that you said, and I'm just gonna keep talking because I love this so much, but I love that you said, like, there was the one person that bought you the prom dress, there was the one
Yes.
and, person that did this, and as I'm thinking through this, I'm like, I had that too, but I didn't realize, right? Like, we don't put that together in our head often that we probably did have that growing up, but we didn't know that.
Yeah. You were saying you don't know the impact you're making. I was raised like I wrote this book because I needed the adults I didn't have. I
Yeah,
am that adult because I really, really, really needed, like,
yeah,
I had some adults, don't get me wrong, but I needed way more adults than I had. There were so many moments where I felt like I had nowhere to turn. And it really is the littlest things. I love that you're talking about the village piece. Because I think that so often the messages that are out there right now about this idea of like building the village, I love them, but it's a lot of the same things. And if you don't have
Mhm.
the skill set or the time or the capacity to do the like, I'll cook you dinner every Thursday,
Yeah.
then you kind of feel like, okay, well, I'm never going to have a village. And I'm here to scream into the void and be like, you might have the most niche offering. Like you, for example,
Yeah.
I have a whole section in my book about how I actually don't like the term reciprocity because it feels
Mhm.
like this one to
Mhm.
one. And I have this whole
Yep.
metaphor about like nurturing people. And that's exactly what you're doing is you have picked your lane, divorce. And
Right.
it may not apply to everyone in your life, but if your friend of friend needs that,
Mm.
they
Yeah.
know to send them to you.
Yep.
And that is exactly what I talk about in the book because you are skilled in it. You're always happy to help those people. You're passionate about
Yep.
it. And that also relieves your friend who feels like they are floundering and don't know how to answer, what do I say in this
Yes.
moment? You're actually helping them to have a better friendship and they can show up in their ways.
Yeah. 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 I love that, and it's true, and I have people that I go to for certain things, right? Like,
Yes.
I don't have, whatever, and so it's like it's that, and I think there's a power in that you just said so eloquently that people don't realize, but being able to say, "Oh, you need this thing? I know somebody, right, that can
Uh-huh.
help you with this thing." That's huge, and it makes you feel special, and it makes you feel like you can help them. So, before we let you go, Alex, I mean, just this book is gonna change lives, like, I know it really will. Um, what would you say to somebody who's listening to this and they're like, "I've tried, but people are the
Mhm.
worst," right? Like, they just, like, you see that these people online all the time, right? Like,
Yep.
everybody's horrible." What would you say to that person who clearly is hurting inside?
Our societal messages when it comes to friendship and community and connection, they are riddled with scarcity. And most of us don't realize it until when you read the book, I have all these you'll start to notice phrases that people say, right? Like finding a good friend is like finding a four-leaf clover. Find someone and hold on tight. When you find that friend, you're never going to find one again. There's so many phrases out there about scarcity, and we are so trained to look at what is not there. And when you do that, you are less likely to invest in a connection because you're like, oh, well, they're not my friend.
Uh,
But the thing is, like if I use you and Jenny as an example,
uh-huh.
right? So many people might look at us and be like, well, you're not really friends. I was like, okay, well,
Right.
we are massive online cheerleaders of a
Yep.
space where not a lot of our in person friends necessarily understand what we do all day. When I got offered a book deal, which I later turned down by the way, that's a whole other story. I texted you and Jenny first
Yeah.
about like one of the biggest decisions of my life. So for anybody who says like, oh,
Right.
they're not really friends or I can't make friends, there is so much value in connections that we already have in our life that we just don't appreciate. And this
Yeah.
book will help you see the value that is there. Even if you and Jenny and I never get together, which I hope we do
Yep.
in person at one
Yeah.
point in our life someday,
Yep. Mhm.
um, we still will have made an impact on each other's lives. And that
Oh,
is
yeah.
valuable. And we should appreciate that. And that's what you'll find in this book is like even the smallest connections add up
Yeah.
and they are meaningful.
We're gonna have to have you I want you to come back to talk about online friendships because I have a lot of
Yeah.
feelings about them. Some of the most important people in my life I've never met in person,
Yes.
and they've made the biggest impact in my entire life, and I think that, that's an interesting, modern take on friendships, but these people, I mean, you included, right, mean the world to our community,
Yeah.
and we can build a community from your home, right, of people that will support you. I think about this sometimes, like, there are people, you included, across this country that I know if my kid was on a field trip by you and had an accident, I could call you in a second and you'd be there. And I'm the same way, right? Like, with
Oh,
certain
yeah.
people, like, I literally think about this a lot. I'm like, if any of my friends' kids are in New York City and they need anything, I will be there for them, right?
Yes.
And I think that, like, because friendship goes beyond, I mean, it's important to be present, like, you have that whole section in your book of present people, right? We want
Mhm.
someone to run errands with and do all that
Yes,
fun stuff.
yes.
But there's a spirituality level of friendship
Mhm.
too, right? That is a connection. And that I think is something that you don't need to talk every day,
Mm-mm.
right? You don't need to like but like you said, there are people that I've reached out to about the most important things in my life. And people do that with me. And I'm so grateful, right, that I get to
Mhm.
be that space for somebody and that I have people. So I'm just so proud of you, first of all, because this has been a
Oh,
journey. And I know you've gone through a lot of rocky roads with a lot of things to get here. And so I hope that you're really proud of yourself because
oh,
it's not an
I
easy feat to put this book out.
yeah. So
Yeah.
proud, and so honestly, at this point, like, I get messages every day asking when somebody can have this book in their hands. I read the audiobook myself, and I was reading the audiobook, and it was one of those moments where I was like, "Wow, this is really good stuff."
Yeah, I can't wait. I cannot wait. So when can we buy this book, Alex?
June 16th, it is available anywhere you buy books, you know, paperback, ebook, or audiobook, which I read.
One of my friendship things is sending my friends who release books mini books of their so they can have dollhouse size books.
How
And you know what?
cute.
I love it so much. I get like what I'm like, when's your book coming out? When's your book coming out? Because for me, that's the most exciting thing is to like celebrate my people, right? And so it's just those little things. And I could really talk about this with you forever. We'll have you come back to talk about friendship. But for anybody listening, I think that there sometimes is a stigma around loving people, right? And
Mm,
remembering the nuances around them,
yeah.
right? And so, like, but it actually means so much, right? When somebody remembers my kids' names, like, or that their birthdays are coming up, or that I'm whatever, I'm like, oh, you see me, like, you remember me, and that's those little nuggets, right? That build that friendship. And so, don't be afraid to be a friend because it's
Mm.
beautiful. And Alex will guide you the whole way there. So we will put the links in the show notes. Again, I'm just so proud of you.
Thank you.
Thank you for being the friend you are. And thank you for modeling it and really changing the narrative about how we can be friends with each other. So I
I'm
appreciate
trying.
you. You're doing it. You're doing it, girl.